Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. We are with Above and Beyond Healing. Kellee Alexa Durrant joining us here. Thank you so much for being here today. How are you?
I'm doing great, Jill. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Just moments ago, for those of you listening, you may not understand this. For those watching, you would. But her kitty cat just came across the screen. What's your cat's name?
Juice.
Juice, adorable. Yeah. Now, does Juice help you with your spiritual healing and all you do?
Oh, no, he's just my cuddle bug. He's everybody's friend, and he puts everybody at ease. He's Beautiful. 2 years old, and he just likes everybody.
Got it. Well, please introduce yourself to our viewers and listeners today.
My name is Kellee, and I'm from Above and Beyond Healing. And what I basically do is I help people heal themselves. And I use different modalities such as channeling your spirit guides, using the archangels, using Reiki, etc. And it's fun work.
Wow. And what brought you into this field? And by the way, you're based out of, you're in Alberta, right?
I am, Jill. I am.
But you work with people all over the world, correct?
Pretty much. And a lot of them I'm getting from Ireland and Scotland and England, is from the UK area.
Wow. And what brought you into this field? Tell us about yourself, if you don't mind. Where'd you grow up and how did you develop this technique and talent?
Actually, this technique and talent was kind of always there as a child. And I can remember I was about 7 years old when I knew a particular event was going to happen. And my older brother says, no, it's not. And I went, yes, it is going to happen. Mm-hmm. And it happened. And that was the passing of my father. Yep. And I knew before anybody else knew.
Oh, wow.
And they didn't believe me at that time.
Wow. And so what did you, so you ended up, how did it work? So you called who?
Well, I just said, because the doctor had come in at that time and we were waiting for the doctors to say something. You know, back then doctors used to make house calls. And the doctor was taking my dad out to the car and rushing him to the hospital. And I said, Dad's not going to make it. And my brother said, don't talk like that.
Don't say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I reminded them of that a few years ago. And they went, you were right. Mm-hmm. You knew before we did.
Wow. I got goosebumps about that. My goodness. Really? Chills. That's your job. You must bring a lot of people chills, right?
I do. And that's my first recollection of having any kind of abilities.
Wow. Now you also
at that age.
And now these type of abilities, you also doing grief counseling as well. Explain to us some of the services that you offer.
Okay. Now I do offer the grief counseling, which is kind of a big one, especially for today and for the events that are happening worldwide, including, with this COVID. And there's all kinds of and types of grief that is going on. Now, I also offer Reiki healing, which is energy work, and help with that. I can also use mediumship, and it gets really interesting. For example, I'm going to use you, Jill. When your mother popped in there and she had a specific message for you.
Thank you.
And, it's kind of interesting when that kind of happens, because if you're using mediumship, you really don't know what's going to come until it actually happens.
Yep. And let's remind everyone what happened with Mom. She came through. What'd she say?
She said, should have get off the pot and make up your own mind about the type of man you want and quit looking for a daddy figure.
Yeah, exactly. You said it. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's right. Spot on. That's Mom. That is Mom coming through, because her daughter, Jill, has been single for 43 years, still can't get that side of things right. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And you don't expect that kind of stuff until it actually happens. Mm-hmm. And with a lot of it, I don't remember it afterwards.
Wow. Well, it's got to
because
be
it's just
draining on you. I mean, there's so much you're
act.
connected to beyond normal life. You're in the other life and you're just, yeah.
Well, you are, and you're listening to what your guides are saying. You're listening to what the archangels are saying. You're listening to what the ascended masters are saying. And all of this goes on in your head, and you think you're hearing voices and you're going crazy, but you really are not. But you're also very much in tune with other people's energy, their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, and being an empath, that can you can be inundated with all of those emotions and stuff like somebody else's, and you have to learn how, okay, now what do I do, how do I work that, how do I block that from
Mm-hmm.
affecting me, because with some empaths it can and does impact them so that they take on other people's stuff when it's
Wow.
not their stuff.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's, yeah.
Now, does anyone else in your family have this gift? I see you have grandchildren pictures up there.
Yes,
Come on.
that is my grandchildren up there. Um, my one grandson, actually, I've got two grandsons at the moment that are showing some signs.
Okay.
The one, Adam, he is a crystal child. He knows about crystals and how to work with them and everything else. And you give him a crystal, and I gave him one day, and I says, Adam, this crystal needs to be cleaned. Can you clean it for me? And he turned around and he goes, done. And I went, you haven't even touched it. He goes, I know. It was just like that.
So he's spiritually, mentally cleaning, clearing, like, yeah.
All the time. Yeah. And I had another crystal. It was a oralite, and I had totally drained it. I had just drained it because I was going through some stuff and I couldn't get anything more out of it. And I went, Adam, here, tell me what you feel. He goes, there's nothing there, Maggie. It's just nothing there. And then he passed it to his mom, and she goes, no, it's dead. There's nothing. And
Wow.
I went, okay, here, do your thing. And he turned around and gave it back to me, and it was fully charged.
Whoa. And wait, how old was he when this started happening?
That was 10, when he was
Oh
10.
my gosh.
He was introduced to crystals when he was about 5 years old,
Thanks to
five,
you
six.
or to his mom or who?
Actually, his mom speaks with angels and does
Okay.
angel work.
Okay.
And so between the two of
Oh my
us,
goodness.
he's had that around him all his life, because I feel that it's important to nurture that and not
Mm-hmm.
to hide it.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't understand what a lot of your abilities are, and they'll bury them. For example, my youngest son, he's got uh, psychic abilities himself, but he's buried it and does not look at it. It's just like a block wall, no way. Go do your magic voodoo stuff, he says.
Meanwhile, he could be doing it too and realize it's not magic voodoo. It's real, but everyone has their
Yeah,
own.
exactly. Their own perspective, their own take on everything. And you have to be able to nurture that and respect where they're coming from and teach them how to start to embrace that.
Mm-hmm.
And with the awakening, and with my grandson, we kind of suspected that he had some abilities, but we didn't know what. And we took him to a psychic fair with us this one year, and he was introduced to a young man that taught me how to channel the spirit guides. Like, I could hear them, but with all the other noise, not knowing exactly, he fine-tuned what I always knew
Okay.
and taught me how to work with them properly. And he met up with him, and Ken actually turned around, and his partner Kim gave him a crystal to give to my grandson. And Ken taught in that few moments how to connect with the crystal. And he's been doing it ever since.
Wow.
I've got this
Amazing.
great big orlite, or not orlite, it is obsidian. It's
Okay.
about yay big by yay big. Yeah. And it's black, it's shiny, glossy, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And he says to me the other day, he says, Maggie, when you die, do I still get that?
He said, "Of course, it's yours."
Yeah, because I've always told him that one is yours.
Oh, that's sweet. So innocently
But
sweet.
yeah, and his oldest brother also speaks with the angels.
Wow.
So that it's in that family. And
Uh,
right now, I am looking at my other grandson who starts talking to dragons.
wow.
And that is another different dimension and reality when you start talking to dragons.
Like talking like what? Explain this to me. I've never heard this before. Wow.
Well, we've all had the fairy tales and
Yes.
everything
Yeah.
else. They are actually some validity and truth in those,
Wow.
because dragons, gnomes, sprites, and that they live in a different dimension and reality from what we do.
Wow.
And you have to be able to go into those dimensions or realities and do it safely
Uh-huh.
and with care and respect for
Got it.
them, and not with the intent of bringing harm, but for it to be for your better health and
Mm-hmm.
self and for their betterment. And it's amazing how easy, once you get into the knowledge and ability to just slide in and out of these different realms and dimensions, the what you can find, and they will not present themselves in any kind of physical way unless you're looking up in the sky and you're going, oh, that looks like a what? Looks like a gnome,
Yeah.
or that looks like a dragon, or
Mm-hmm.
something that just kind of, and that is the way that they will present themselves to you. Or
Wow.
all of a sudden you'll see a picture in a magazine or on a billboard or something. They're trying to give you a message,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the way that they will come to you. But you have to be open to some of
To
this,
receiving, yes. And to
the receiving.
yes, and thinking
Yes.
about the electronic things that go wrong in my house. Pay attention to signs and music, especially with my mom. I always listen to her favorite song comes on. I'm like, I knew it. And just you look around. I try to be as open as possible too, because I do believe, but I'm not as gifted anywhere near you. I mean, I get feelings, but not like that. And just to point out, you're on Facebook, Above and Beyond Healing, and you posted this, I guess, recently. There is a purpose for everyone you meet. Some people will test you, some people will use you, some will bring out the best in you, but everyone will teach you something about yourself. Both positive and negative relationships teach you valuable lessons. That's
That's
beautiful.
that's very true. And I've had
Mm-hmm.
to look back on my life, and I've looked back on other people's life, and you see how that's impacted the individual,
Yeah.
and how that person had or a lesson to teach you.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And sometimes it's very painful lessons,
Yeah.
as we all know. And with some of that too, it also helps when you're doing the mediumship to reach out, and then you could say, hey, look, I know this was a difficult time for you, but did you really understand what was going on? Or do you know why this actually
Mm-hmm.
happened? And what did you learn from it? And that's part of the counseling and the therapy and the grief processes too, because that all wraps up into the grief processes,
Yeah.
because that may have an impact on how you are dealing with the loss of something. And right now, a lot of us are dealing with the loss of our time, our space, our ability to go out and be around people and to have
Yeah.
that.
That has been hard, right? I mean, did you ever think, did you see this coming? Were you guided by your angels and spirits telling you, hey, something big is going to be happening? Did you hear that? Did you ignore it? Did they
I
say
did
anything or no? It
I
just
did
happened.
not I
Mhm.
did not ignore it at all, because as soon as I had the first little bit about COVID coming out, and I went, yep, here we go. There's going to be a big one.
Oh, goosebumps again. Wow.
Yep. And my mentor, Jill Wirch from Employed by Angels, she also said the same thing. And she has been a real godsend to me too, to teach me how to develop and fine tune what I had
Got
and
it.
have, you know, and we
Wow.
all have it to some degree. It's just that we're some of us, for example, I have a friend who is very much aware of the Akashic records and how to go into there, and she is always spot on. I have another friend who is really strong with channeling other people's guides. So we all have our strengths in our different abilities,
Mm-hmm.
and using your clairs and the clairs, that's a big one too.
That's like clairvoyance, clairsentient. What are they?
Yeah. Clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairalience, clairgustance,
Oh,
and I
wow.
know I'm missing two.
More than I do. Okay. Okay. Explain what that is, if you don't mind, what they are.
Clairgustance. Clairgustance. You're going to love this. Is taste.
Wow.
It's something to do with taste. And the one time I had to, it was not one that I'm very strong in. And so I was working on strengthening that particular clair. And I got this taste of bleach. And it was awful.
Oh my
And all I
gosh.
could do was coffee, quick.
Yep. 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 Wash it out. Wash it out.
Yeah, kind of
Wow.
scenario. But clairgustance is taste. Um, Clairvoyance is where you can see, and you know what's going to happen. Um, then I got a list here.
Oh,
Let's
you don't,
get
it's
my
okay.
list. It's
Go
right
ahead. I'll
here.
take a sip of the coffee. Okay. No problem.
And there.
And which clairs do you specialize in? Are you a visual? Are you a,
Yeah. And that's clairvoyant.
okay.
That is my strength, is being clairvoyant and claircognizant. And that
Mhm.
is where you just know. Claircognizant is where you just know. Clairvoyant is where you can see, and you can see what's going on and what's developing. Clairaudient is what you hear.
Here. Okay.
Yeah, and that's the audient. Clairsentient is the sensing, the feelings and stuff. Clairalience, as I said, was smell.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes that can be pretty potent and powerful. Uh, for example, my husband passed away in November of last year,
I'm sorry.
and I can sometimes smell him around me. And so I know his presence is here.
Yeah. My brother, after my mom passed, started smelling cigarettes. She used to smoke. He's like, I'm telling you, mommy's here. I'm like, no, no. He's like, I smell. Do you? I'm like,
Yes.
no. But everyone has their own. Yeah.
Well, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And with him, it was his aftershave with my
Oh,
husband. But he would also, when I was also saying about your clairgustance, my coffee would taste like cigarettes. And I'm going, quit disturbing and playing around with my coffee. You know how precious
got the
my coffee
coffee.
is.
Uh-huh.
Don't touch my coffee.
Well, now can I just ask a personal question? How it works for someone with your abilities when you lose someone? You still obviously grieve, you love, you do. How do you handle it differently than most people? Are you able to communicate with him? Do you feel more at ease because you feel him, sense him, speak with him? Or what happened, if you don't mind sharing, if it's not too personal?
No, I don't mind sharing at all, because there's something everybody can learn from that.
Okay.
And with me, with my late husband, I knew it was going to be a matter of time. He had suffered a stroke a year before he passed. And so I knew he was kind of going on borrowed time. So I was already mentally preparing
Preparing.
myself,
Ah,
you know.
goosebumps. Oh,
So when you are already aware of something that's started, and it could be the same thing with an individual who's got some kind of a disease, such as cancer or
mm-hmm.
Alzheimer or
Yeah.
dementia, you automatically, your mind will start going into acknowledging.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just won't.
Mm,
And sometimes the actual event itself can be very traumatizing when that individual passes.
mm-hmm.
And the beauty of it all is that when they pass, it's beautiful. They're
Yeah.
not in any pain.
Yeah.
They really are not. And they're just going to this light. And to kind of like, I like to put it in or call it like a way station where they go to. And that's where they go and get dehumanized and go back as a soul so that they can start integrating with their soul family. Have you ever met someone that you were introduced to and you
You
felt like
feel
you
like you
knew?
know them. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's part of your soul family.
Oh, wow.
They know you and you know them as part of your soul family.
And hence you were together at one point. You will be reunited on this
Yes.
earth, clearly, and then back again when you go
Or
back.
you may not be reunited.
Oh,
I
but
know
you've
with
already
my
got
late,
it.
yep, my late husband and I, we had many lives together throughout the centuries.
Oh,
We were just always kind of, and now we actually fulfilled the contract to each other so that in future lives, we won't have that tie and that bond, but there'll still be that soul family connection,
oh, wow.
but it won't be to the where you're
Extent where you're married
husband,
again, or
wife,
yeah.
boyfriend,
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend, or your partner, or
How did you know? How do you
yes.
know that the contract's up? How you just feel it? You.
I just knew. I
Mm-hmm.
knew that this was the final one because as I was going through some of my training, it I went into my Akashic records.
Got it.
I found that this was a contract that I had made. And so therefore I had to break that contract. I had to complete it and then that was done.
Put it away.
Because
Wow.
you make throughout your different lifetimes and stuff like that, you make these contracts or promises and stuff like that. And you don't even realize that you have done that in 1,000 years ago or whatever. And now all of a sudden it's come up and it's a problem for you.
Mm-hmm. It's holding
And
you back in some sense. There's something
yeah,
that's not quite right. So you do Akashic readings as well?
yes, I do. Yes,
Okay.
I do. Because it also helps when you are trying to do a general workup on someone. If you go into their Akashic records, you can see what their life has been like. Um, how many times have they reincarnated? How it's impacted them. And you
Wow.
get a lot of information going into the Akashic records, but you can also get that same information by talking to their spirit guides.
Really? So a
Yes,
session like that. So how long of a session usually does that take? And again, you could do it like this over Zoom. You could do a phone
yes,
call. You could do it
yes.
in person. How long does something like that take?
It depends on what the individual is really looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And there's many times if I'm doing a session, it's not what the individual's going to get.
Yeah.
They may be wanting, oh, I want a message from my deceased partner.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, Uncle George here
Pops in.
pops in, and but Uncle George has got a very valid message that he needs to get through to that individual kind of
Mm-hmm.
scenario. So they don't always get what they want or
Mm-hmm.
want to hear because sometimes it could be very blunt and to the point, and where it can hurt them a little bit. So you have to be aware of what you're saying how you're saying it, and how is it going to impact the individual that's going to be receiving this. And you have to be aware of that. And this is where, by talking with their guides and looking into the Akashic records, you pick up all of that.
Wow.
And you know that all in an instant, how you're going to work with this individual. And I'm going to use a client that I had and as an example.
Sure.
And she came to me, and this was where I was just doing quick little 15, 20-minute sessions. And it was at a fair, a spiritual fair. And she sat down, and the first thing I did is I leaned up to her and I said, "Your husband doesn't know that you have been raped, does he?" "Nobody does." And she just stopped right there. And she says, "How did you know?" She says, "Nobody knows." And I went, "You're not alone."
Mm-hmm.
But it just, that whole thing, just, she was putty.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
melted
firm
right there.
confirmation that this is real and you really are tapping in. Now, did you get that message from her guides, or how did you feel that and know that?
It was a clairvoyant.
Clairvoyant. You saw. Oh, wow.
I saw it.
Oh.
I saw it. And I, even thinking about it right now, gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, I got them too. Wow.
Yeah. And she ended up booking for future sessions with me.
Good.
And she eventually has told her husband
Oh,
and
wow.
opened up about it. But it was that whole thing. You know, she wasn't expecting that to come up.
Mm-hmm.
That she had buried it. And then when you come out with something that is just totally mind-blowing, that only they know, that is where you kind of go, I did some good today.
Yeah.
And that I helped someone.
And you helped so many people. And I apologize. We're out of time. It went so quick.
Already.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Kellee Alexa Durrant, tell us how we can reach out to you. Phone number, email, Facebook.
Facebook at Above and Beyond Healing. Phone number 403-561-6066. And you can also text me on that number, or by email at kdurrant@shaw.ca.
Perfect. Looking forward to talking to you again. I can't believe how quick it went, but there's so much to you. The grief feeling, the stages of grief, the personal impact on individuals. I mean, so much more in your notes. We'll get to it next time a little more. And best of luck with the grandchildren. Aren't they the best? Right? I have a 4- and 6-year-old. I have 2 little boys. But my mom said to have grandchildren was the best thing ever. It was hopefully one day. I'm a little older, but fingers crossed I'll have grandchildren too. But they say
and now I'm going to have great-grandchild.
Really?
Yes.
Do you know, or you're predicting, or you feel it? Do you know now?
I know. And in fact, they had a gender reveal, and I said, it's going to be a girl. And they're going, we don't know yet. We haven't even checked. And I said, it's a girl.
And
so it's a girl.
Amazing. Well, congratulations.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Kind of fun.
Kellee Alexa Durrant, go to Facebook, Above and Beyond Healing. Pleasure speaking with you, and looking forward to next week. Hopefully we'll do it again.
We will, definitely,
all right.
Jill.
Have
Thank
a great
you
day,
for having
sweetheart.
me.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's It's going to be okay.